Hello and welcome to the Shack News Chattycast, the podcast that drops the ball every week. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Watts.
I'm your other host, Brian Carr. Steve, I want to let you know that today's Chattycast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Chattycast. And by now, you should know how to spell Chattycast.
Yeah, you would think. If you subscribe to this, just look at your podcasty device.
Look at your screen.
Yeah. so every week we pick a big topic, we post about it in the Shack News Chatty, and then we talk about it in detail with your comments. Today we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions for the game industry, and here to help us talk about that, today's guest, a dapper man that we made turn off the light so that you couldn't see how dapper he is, Andrew Zakowski.
Hello. Hello,
It's a handicap. We had to handicap him.
I was going to say, yeah, because you're making the rest of us look like
I'm so bright.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Stop.
Brian's on vacation, and this is just how I always dress. Anyway, so before we get to the New Year's resolutions portion, our big topic, we're going to talk about what we have been occupying ourselves with, and we all had a nice long break recently to play games. So Andrew, as our guest, did you play any games, or were you just chilling?
I played some games over the break. Mostly, I'm just gonna touch on it and leave it. I mostly watched Making a Murderer, which I can just go off on, but I won't because this is a gaming podcast right now.
Please don't.
That has nothing to do with anything. Yeah.
I played a little bit of The Witcher. I finally beat the Bloody Baron quest, so I am just more than I'm in.
I have an actual question about this.
Yeah.
Where in the Bloody Baron did you get to? Because unbeknownst to me,
I finished.
Okay.
I finished.
Unbeknownst to me until very recently, and I'm going to dance around spoilers here because Brian, I happen to know, just recently picked up The Witcher. Unbeknownst to me, there's a point where like you get the information from him that you wanted, and that could be considered the end. But he also his story is still slightly unresolved, and you can go off and do something else.
I resolved it. I resolved it my way as well.
Okay.
I made choices, and I stand by those choices, regardless of consequences.
I don't know. I don't actually know if those consequences might be unavoidable. I feel like there's probably some sort of this is going to happen no matter what kind of thing. But yeah, I made some pretty horrible shit happen.
I probably did similar things to you. I've been told that there are ways to avoid most of the horrible things. I believe I did all of the horrible things, except for one horrible thing, which I think just trumps everything else. Granted, I sound like a buffoon not using proper nouns in this conversation, so God knows what I'm actually talking about. So we'll leave that for the spoiler cast eventually.
Okay. Yeah, that game goes dark in some weird ways, and I was playing right when my wife was getting ready to go to bed, and she just looked at the screen and was like, "What are you playing? What is this?"
I will say, speaking of Bloody Baron, the sisters, the three sisters, have been so far my favorite characters in this entire game.
Oh yeah, they're disgusting. Like
putrid.
What's the name of that phobia? The fear of holes.
Oh yeah.
Like one of them has that plant, thing that looks gross and freaks me out. She's got that for an eye, and they kept showing it.
Flies coming out of them.
They kept showing it prominently, and I'm just like, yeah.
Wait, why did I buy this game?
It was disgusting. I really wanted to kill them. Like the reason I even went on that final bit of quest with the Bloody Baron was I kind of assumed something in a roundabout way will let me fight them and kill them. So that was basically my only goal. I didn't really care about his drama.
Oh no! As soon as I saw the mural, I was like, I'm taking you guys down.
Yeah, I mean, and it's weird because the mural is, again, dancing on spoilers. The mural is misleading.
Yes.
In some pretty
like everything in Witcher, apparently. Everything's bloody misleading.
Yes. So Witcher was our game of the year, and that's also what I've been playing more recently since finishing Assassin's Creed. Because I was like, I got a few, probably like 10, 20 hours into Witcher, which is like, oh, cool, you finished the tutorial. Like I got, I got a little bit into Witcher and then just kind of like got busy with other things. It still made my Game of the Year list, but it was near to the bottom because I didn't finish it all the way through and I didn't feel like I had enough information to put it higher. But with it making our Game of the Year list and just really honestly just blowing everything else out of the water, I felt like I needed to go back to it. So I'm currently trying to make my way through that. And the thing I've sort of been playing a lot more though is Lara Croft Go.
Yeah.
Which that game is rad. That is such a good game.
That was the second best game of the year. If you ask me, the top two games were both Lara Croft related.
Top 10 list. Yeah, it's like
all Lara everything.
Yeah, I played Hitman Go and I enjoyed it well enough. It got a little obtuse with the puzzle solutions at parts, and I feel like Lara Croft Go. For some reason, I feel more in control in Lara Croft Go than I ever did in Hitman Go. Like I feel like I have more options and I can see the solutions a little better. Like it's not like I just instantly recognize what I'm supposed to do, because then it would be kind of a boring puzzle game. But there's never been a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm stuck. I need to go up this way, then back again, then this way 3 times, then over to this space. Then like it doesn't really do that.
No.
There's a little more room for error.
Yeah, the puzzles are not obtuse. So it's very easy to backtrack. It's pretty fair and forgiving, which I think makes it work a lot better than Hitman Go did. Because Hitman Go was kind of like there was one way to do this, and you have to do it this way from the start. Otherwise, you're basically.
And it wasn't a kill this guy then kill this guy way of doing it.
Right.
It was like I said, it's basically like, okay, now move left 1 space, now move up 1 space, now move back 1 space. Now like you had to do it in this very particular sequence to get everyone in the positions you needed them to be in. And it got to that level of difficulty like real quick. If that was like the last 3 levels, that'd be fine. But like that was like more than half the game, and I was like, okay, I can't.
It wasn't fun. After a while, it just wasn't fun. But I feel like this one uses the mechanics, uses the touch and slide mechanics and style of the Go series, I guess we can call it that now. And I think that those things map better onto Tomb Raider than they do onto Hitman.
Yeah, and it also feels like a Tomb Raider game. I mean, like
it does.
It's not like they've grafted this style onto a series that doesn't fit it. It totally feels like Tomb Raider, and it's kind of strange in that it feels kind of Zelda-like, which is like a return to Tomb Raider, because Tomb Raider was kind of Zelda-like. Like it's this weird circular thing where the puzzle solutions of pushing blocks and knowing how to get from one place to another is very Zelda-like. And I love Zelda, so playing something that's kind of like that as a mobile game is pretty great.
I think Zelda's okay, and I think this game is fantastic. Damn.
You're a Zelda skeptic.
That's a good word.
Yeah. Yeah.
A polite word.
Zelda was an inside job.
Yeah.
The only other game that I've sort of occupied a little bit of my time with is Yoshi's Woolly World, which is so just
Did you get the watermelon Yoshi? That is my favorite Yoshi.
I haven't yet. I finished just like the first world.
It's in the first world. It's either the second or third stage.
Okay.
It's great.
I played as Flower Yoshi for quite a bit of it.
Nice.
Basically, like I wanted to finish that game because I also got Xenoblade Chronicles Cross.
Yeah, that's on my shelf, and that's probably going to stay on my shelf for a while.
I need to get to that thing, but I don't like swapping discs, so I need to finish Yoshi first.
And now you have to swap discs. You have to like install all this extra stuff.
So you can actually play the game.
So it's going to be a whole process for you.
It's going to be a whole thing. But yeah, Yoshi, I think I said this in preview coverage before it even came out when we just saw it at E3. It's like that game is like just a warm blanket. I want to like wrap myself in that game, like literally and metaphorically, because like it's like it's just a comfortable, fun game to play. It's just like enjoyable and soft in a way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I still need to get around to that.
Oh, it's so cute. It's just not quite like Ori, but along the lines of Ori. Its cuteness sort of belies the difficulty, because even in the first world, there were sections that I was like, this is actually like pretty challenging. You know, like I died once or twice on this part, so I imagine that's only going to ramp up from here. And you wouldn't imagine that from seeing this adorable little art style, but it is, old school Nintendo challenge. So yeah.
Great.
Brian.
Need Yoshi
What
Maker now.
Yeah, give us Yoshi Maker, give us Zelda Maker, our number 2 game of the year.
Yeah.
Or number 1 if you ask Asif. He owns all of us, so he's allowed to say
technically his vote should count like triple or something like that.
Yeah, shouldn't. Tell you what, everyone's vote counts proportional to how much money they contribute to the
Yeah, exactly. If I was the inexplicable CEO of Shack News, that'd be like the number 1 rule I do.
My
vote counts
for like the majority stake of the game of the year vote. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, so I have been on break, which is it's kind of a misnomer because I've also been working a lot. But I have actually had slightly more time to play games, which is kind of exciting. But I've been dabbling in a lot of things because of going to like family gatherings and all that. So I got a couple quick hits I can do on some things. Fibbage. We played a lot of Fibbage, which is part of the Jackbox Party Pack. Came out.
Do you fib? Is it about lying?
You are trying to lie to your friends and family in that game.
Oh.
It is fantastic. So basically what it is it gives you, for those of you who haven't played Fibbage, and it's going to sound a lot less fun than it is. They're going to give you a fact, like a statement, and it's going to have a blank, and then so it'll be something like the mayor of this town in Kentucky is a blank. Okay, and so you type in on your phone because it's all done with your mobile phones. You connect them to the PlayStation or the Xbox or whatever you're doing because it all goes through like a web server. You type in what you are trying to say as a lie, so you want to try to like come up with something convincing, right? But also
like
maybe make it funny.
In a man suit.
Yeah, something like that. So you type that in, and then the game takes all of them, kind of mixes them up, and then you have to pick what the truth is. You're trying to find the truth. But you get points in 2 ways. You get points by finding the true answer, but also by having people pick your lie.
So you need a believable lie, but also
exactly.
to be able to sniff out the truth. Yeah.
Which some of the people I was playing with didn't quite get that.
They would just make
so
unbelievable lies.
They're putting like the filthiest things they can think of. I'm like, guys, that's not how you play the game, but okay. But you can play that way too, because you can actually like people's responses. So and then at the end of the game, whoever has the most likes associated with their answers gets a little bonus prize too. So it's made by the same people who make You Don't Know Jack, and all of those games that they make are on some level interesting. Fibbage is probably the best part of that, right next to You Don't Know Jack. The rest of the games, kind of hit or miss, but Fibbage, we got a lot of mileage out of that one. Let's see, finished the Force Awakens set for Disney Infinity. Started Assassin's Creed. I like Assassin's Creed. I don't like the fact that a glitch destroyed my progress in a mission, and I have to do it all over again. So
I've heard this rant before, but it's enjoyable. So
Well, okay, so I'm doing this mission where you have to kill this Templar, and they're like, okay, you got to run him over with a carriage. Now, of course, they put him in like this really narrow, like little town square area, or like this like factory.
No, you don't have to do those secondary.
No, you have to. Like, well, you don't have to. I'm not gonna not run a man over with an old timey.
When I would see that the objective was like really hard, I'd be like, "Fuck it," and just like hit him with a dagger and run.
Right, so I'm trying to do it that way. I'm trying to do it the way the game wants me to. I finally managed to finagle a carriage in there, run the dude over. Then it's like, okay, you gotta escape, become anonymous. I'm like, that makes sense. I just murdered a man in cold blood. Everybody saw me. I gotta go. So I run across the entire map. It's like you still gotta become anonymous. I'm like, there's nobody chasing me anymore. I am on the other side of the city of London. And apparently what happened is, and I looked it up, and this has actually happened to other people, is that the game will occasionally glitch and make it so you can't become anonymous again, which means you can't progress in the story or the mission.
So you say that's happened to other people. Is that a glitch that happens a lot on that specific mission, or just in general there are people
I think in general. I saw a few people complaining about it online. I don't think it's terribly widespread, but when it happens to you, it sucks because I had to restart the thing, and I didn't get credit for the mission, and so I'm just like, I'm done with this for a while. I guess the other big thing I played a little bit of was Puzzle and Dragons X Super Mario Brothers X whatever, the 2-pack that came out on 3DS, and that is one I want to tell you guys, if you're looking for something to play in 3DS, don't sleep on that. It's Puzzle and Dragons, which is a very, very good game, but without all of the free-to-play crap in it. So you get a really good deal because you get 2 games. One is like a weird Pokemon anime version of Puzzle and Dragons, which I haven't played yet. The other is Super Mario Brothers Puzzle and Dragons, and that one's a lot of fun. It gets really, really hard, too, so it's not like it's like a pushover because it's Mario or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I've heard the Mario Puzzle and Dragons is very well, this is going to sound obvious and stupid, but bear with me. Like puzzly, like not just
Really?
puzzly, like
Yeah.
not just puzzly in that like you need to know how to move the blocks to do the thing.
Well,
It's like this boss has a specific weakness and you have to figure it out.
That's
you know?
kind of how most of Puzzle and Dragons games are, even on mobile. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of that where it's like you have to come up with some kind of strategy. Like this isn't really a puzzle game; it's an RPG you play using a puzzle mechanic.
So puzzle questy, but different.
Yeah, but I think better in some ways because I haven't been a big fan of the last couple Puzzle Quest games. Like,
I haven't either, but man, I loved that back in the day. That first like 2 Puzzle Quests,
right?
And then whatever that space one was called that everybody hated, but I loved.
Yeah, like Marvel Puzzle Quest should be a slam dunk for me, but I just did not like that game very much.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Heartbreaking.
That was weird.
But some people love it. I don't know.
It's just after like 2 nights, and I just it just didn't catch me.
But Puzzle and Dragons is a good time, and it's a stupid amount of content, it's a stupid amount of stuff for $30 or however much you pay for it. So, I'm
planning on investing in that once I get credit for the duplicate gifts that I got for Christmas.
Right.
That's what I'm going for.
And then apart from that, I've been playing a lot of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes on my phone. I can tell you all about my.
You're playing it right now, for example.
I am right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and check out of this for a minute if you guys don't mind. But no, it's that game. It's not again. It's not particularly great, but I feel like it's the free to play hooks in it are not quite as egregious as some other games of that type. So it's kind of like just a thing. Like okay, I check in the morning. I do my daily stuff. It takes me about 20 minutes, and then I can like go do other stuff and maybe come back to it once in a while if I'm bored. So it's a nice little kind of filler thing.
I'm still angry that isn't Star Wars Hearthstone because that was what everyone thought it was going to be, and then it wasn't that.
You just want everything to be Hearthstone.
Star Wars, yeah, but Star Wars Hearthstone. I don't know how well you know me, Andrew.
We never
seen Star Wars for way longer than I have loved Hearthstone. So combining those two things, maybe it's a good thing that it's not. I would be living on the street.
Never see you again.
You have a family to think about, Steve.
Yeah, it might not be great. I am curious about that Elder Scrolls card game, though. I'm wondering
when it eventually comes out.
They have been real quiet about that.
Or when they eventually show what the hell it is. For example, they just showed a trailer. All right. Anyway, let's move on to our big topic. Our big topic this week: New Year's resolutions. A New Year's upon us. That means it's time to make those ill-fated New Year's resolutions. What about resolutions for the game industry? Maybe this is the year the game companies should cut down on DLC or spend more time testing games. Or maybe the gaming community should set some goals like being more welcoming to newcomers or holding companies more accountable by voting with their dollars. You could even make this personal, like time to finish that ever-growing pile of shame. So this week we're going over video game resolutions, industry-wide, community-wide, personally. What would we like to see changed in ourselves or in our industry or in our community by the time we put on our party hats to ring in 2017? We have a comment. Well, we have a couple comments. One from Ann Hero said, "My New Year's resolution is about ethics in game journalism and how it affects gun laws for Syrian refugees." I don't think he's serious.
Oh, yeah?
That's like a search engine optimization tweet. Like
yeah,
that's an SEO tweet.
Get all the clicks
all of those
with these
terms
words
in the description for this podcast.
Yeah.
But seriously, the other actual suggestion, I'll split these up and bring them up as they're relevant. But let's start with industry resolutions, because Mobab brought up one. I'm definitely hoping people will start, this is sort of an industry/community one, people will start holding developers a bit more accountable for buggy games. We saw some buggy-ass games in 2015. I'm still getting used to calling that last year. So that is definitely on the list. Like both getting companies to take that seriously, however they need to change their pipeline to do that, and also telling people like, hey, you don't have to buy this. There's no reason you need to buy it, and maybe that will teach them a lesson. So, guys, your thoughts on industry New Year's resolutions?
So, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh God, no, you go. So I don't have to bullshit.
Don't everybody jump in at once.
I have an idea, but I want to think, because I want to go off of that. And
yeah, because I don't want to tip my hand too much on one of the resolutions I was going to say, because we can save that for the newsy bits.
Mhm.
But and you probably already know what I'm going to be getting at here. But
I guess I'll just jump in with one of mine. Especially after Battlefront, I feel like a lot of people have soured over pre-order and how like the pre-order business has devolved into. I thought we were doing better, and then Battlefront happened. So my New Year's resolution for the gaming industry is figure out how to do pre-orders properly and don't break our hearts with it. I guess
Give people
don't,
good value for their
yeah,
dollars.
don't hide half the game from players when they have to pay $60 extra for it. It just no.
And this kind of extends to this. Part of this is almost like our worst trends article that we kind of ran late last year. This kind of extends to season passes too, right? Like season passes, you're largely buying sight unseen. You're buying a bunch of content that you're like,
Or
well, I hope
promise.
this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was kind of a bad year for season passes, or last year was kind of a bad year for season passes. Like $50 season passes, and then it's nothing. It's stupid.
The underwhelming. Like with Evolve, Batman, I'm gonna say Star Wars because we still haven't seen much with it. Did Assassin's Creed get a season's pass? Does it?
I think it did, and from what I've heard, the Jack the Ripper DLC is not great.
Great. Okay, so that's at least 4-ish games that have been quite disappointing.
And big ones, like big
ones.
Yeah.
The ones that people have been looking forward to. Granted, I've heard amazing things about the Witcher DLC. I heard the newest one, Heart of Stone, is like almost better than the actual game. So
yeah,
sometimes
I picked up that
right.
kind of to help spur myself into getting back into the main game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's definitely one. DLC, season passes. This has also been kind of a weird year. I don't know if this is how to make this into a resolution, but hear me out. This has been a weird year. You bring up Battlefront reminded me. This has been a weird year for people rediscovering that just a single-player game is okay. Like Witcher 3, single-player game. Fallout 4, single-player game. No multiplayer components whatsoever. And meanwhile, there have been multiplayer games that have really just fallen flat on their face, like Evolve and maybe Battlefront. I don't know. I think it's probably a little too early to tell for that one, but it has gotten sort of a tepid response. So in the context of New Year's resolutions, I kind of like to see that trend continue because I love single-player games. I want the industry to continue realizing, hey, if we just make a really good single-player experience, we don't really need like a multiplayer thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although if you're making a multiplayer-only thing, this is kind of the last year is kind of the year that taught you, like, you got to bring it, guys. Like, you can't offer us the amount of content that you would if it was half of a larger game that also had a single-player component. That seems to be kind of the problem with Star
even
Wars.
like Call of Duty went above and beyond offering single-player stuff this year.
Great, yeah, quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a ton of stuff in that package.
Yeah, and Call of Duty always delivers, like, whatever you think about Call of Duty, the series or the mechanics or anything like that. Like they tend to stuff that thing pretty full. Like they know that people just play. There's a contingent of people that play that like all year for a year until the next one comes out, and so they tend to take care of it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. What other, Brian? I think you can spoil your resolution that relates to Newsy Bits.
I think that we have to be realistic about VR. I know that like that's a difficult thing to say on this site in particular, but Asif's not here right now, so.
No, I think Asif is very realistic about VR. He was I think as surprised as any of us with the Oculus Rift price.
Okay.
Which we will get into a little later.
Yeah, we have to be realistic about what it is and what it can be. I think that this is going to be a thing that we will maybe eventually see some interesting uses for, but I just get these visions, these flashes of 3D televisions and 3D gaming and how that was supposed to be the next big thing and how it has not been that. So I think that once we kind of like maybe, and I think that the Oculus stuff is kind of hopefully going to be the start of that fire dying down a little bit and kind of maybe letting us put things in perspective. That's kind of where I would start first. My next thing is I think that the community, the gaming community, should resolve to chill. Okay, we just in general.
How many times have we suggested that as the resolution for the gaming community though? Like every year for the last decade.
Well, yeah, but also like
they'll still say it until they chill.
Exactly, that's the thing with New Year's resolutions. It's like, yeah, I resolve to lose weight every year. It hasn't happened, but you do it anyway because it's a good thing to do. And I think that we just like the last couple of years especially have just been, and not even for the reasons that are obvious. I mean, we go into like a lot of these conversations have been done to death, right? But I think that it's just kind of amazing just how like I don't even know like how people are willing to like see this as like this holy crusade. Like this game's not coming out in America, and I'm going to this game that's not any good's not coming out in America, and I'm going to pay this importer $70 to get this game from Japan because I'm like it's just dumb. Like we are living in dumb times, and I think it just I don't know. Like this, maybe I'm not being quite as diplomatic as I should be with this, but I think at some point we need to resolve to understand that these are video games. And
the thing you were talking about sort of speaks to this is sort of a larger problem for the internet. I can't say this is a games community specific thing.
It is not at all.
Learn what censorship is and is not, guys. Yeah. That would be a good thing for us as a community to do this year. To not get as up in arms about just when companies make reasonable decisions for...
Or just pick your battles. I think even if you can't chill,
purposes.
Even if you can't chill, just pick your battles.
Yeah, that's another good way of putting it.
Because video games are very, very important.
Really about the community this episode, which makes sense.
Now the counterpart to that is we as, or I shouldn't say we, but the people who cover games, that sort of thing, probably need to chill a little bit sometimes too. Again, perspective. It is. It feeds on itself, right? And I'm not saying for a moment that video games aren't important. They're incredibly important. It's a medium. It's an industry that we can do amazing things with. But perspective. I think that's the biggest thing, is let's resolve to have some perspective.
Here's one that's sort of insider, and this is something that I tend to hesitate talking about too much because coming from me in my position, it sounds like it's coming from a certain place. So I'm going to try to explain in a way that I avoid that. The move towards YouTuber culture in the gaming media, gaming press, and even gaming audience, reading YouTubers or watching YouTubers instead of going to sites like us or in addition to it. I'd like this year to continue to develop a certain set of ethical standards for them. Yep. Because that's not to say that YouTubers do not have ethics. I'm sure that many of them do. But as a result of them just being like, I'm just a dude on YouTube, like I just made a channel, they don't have they don't have a publication behind them. They don't have ethical guidelines that were basically
editorial oversight. They don't have that.
Editorial oversight. Like the sort of editorial oversight that you see on a lot of game sites like ours. We may not be owned by a publisher, but we are basically following the kinds of ethical standards that that trend was started by publishers. Yeah. So there's history there, and that's the history has proven that it works over the course of centuries.
There are professional practices that must be adhered to.
Exactly. So there's YouTube. Yeah. Like it seems like the industry is starting to wake up to YouTuber culture being kind of a weird area in a weird place right now. Because obviously they can be very ethical, but there's also nothing holding them to it in the same way.
Right.
And so they really need to come out. I think there needs to be a move towards coming out and establishing their ethical practices in a way that's public and that everyone recognizes and knows, like, okay, this is what you'll do and what you won't do. There was that kind of hilariously passed around video from last year of the guy playing Assassin's Creed, and being like, "Oh, this game's so awesome," and Ubisoft flew me out to London, and that was really cool. And wait a minute, like, like realizing in the middle of his disclosure statement, like, wait. And
No,
that's
I
not to
wanna.
say that going on trips is like inherently unethical, but it's good that
No.
he disclosed it, and that's something that maybe other people might not have thought to do. So I'm glad that people are sort of waking up to that. I want to see that trend continue.
Mhm.
But I think in the interest of diplomacy,
Yes, yeah.
which I've been
And again, I'm
terrible
not
at so
saying
far.
that YouTubers are inherently unethical or
No,
anything.
but I think maybe a resolution, maybe for all of us, maybe just for me personally, is to try to understand that culture better.
That's true.
I have been very, very skeptical of a lot of that stuff. People are like, you checked out this person does Let's Plays, and every time I check them out, it's like 9 times out of 10, it's just somebody with like Adobe After Effects, and they're just like, overusing that and just like, just yelling at the camera and like doing quick edits and stuff like that. Basically, PewDiePie, they're trying to do what PewDiePie does, but without the success.
Ouch.
As
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But,
Still hurts.
but,
Not
but
wrong.
at the same time, like you can't paint with that broad a brush, right? Like there are a lot of people who are doing really cool, innovative, and interesting things with this material, and I think that if we want to talk about the importance of an open and free press covering this stuff, we can't deny that. We can't ostracize from that. So I think
I mean, to their credit, they are also helping keep the press honest.
Absolutely. Which is
from the other side,
Yep, and I think that the more that the two sides do try to keep each other honest, do try to do that, I think that's going to be better. And I think I'm on my end personally, I feel like I should try to make an effort more than I have to really dig into that and understand it and understand
why. Yes, you should, Brian. You should.
I should personally do it. It's one of my many, many
I probably should
failings.
too. Like I pretty much watch like one Let's Player, and I don't even know if it counts as a Let's Play anymore. It's just one guy who plays Hearthstone all the time. So
no, it doesn't.
So I watch that because he's a good. It's for people who know the Hearthstone scene, it's Trump. He's one of the most popular streamers. So I watch it because like he sort of teaches me things inherently about strategy and things like that. But I don't tend to venture outside of that too much and look for other types of Let's Plays. Unless it's like by people, like I'll watch a Giant Bomb quick look, which is their name for Let's Play. I mean, it's the same thing. But I should venture outside of my comfort zone a little more for watching those kinds of things.
But here's another resolution, and this is another one that probably comes up every year. Stop buying games when they first come out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like there are exceptions, of course, to that rule. There are some games that you can probably reasonably trust they're going to work when they come out. But we need
Fallout
to.
is not one of them.
Fallout is not one of them. Like Nintendo games are not going to get any cheaper. They'll probably work. Go ahead and buy them when they come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unless it's like Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, in which case never buy it. But
oh god. Happy home designer.
Hey, let's take Mario Party and take all of the games and fun things out of it. That'll be great.
Yeah.
And this is something I need to work on too, because I've got the I won't elaborate on which retailer and all that for the sake of not giving the free advertising, but I have a discount card that lets me get a certain percentage off new games at the store, and so I have been more inclined to buy games I normally wouldn't when they're brand new. But that's something I'm like, I don't have time to get around to a lot of these things, and every time a game comes out, it's like you can get 100 hours of gameplay out of this. I'm like, great, I will never see the end of this. So like one effort I have to.
Like yesterday, asking my fellow Shack News staff about like, hey, how close, like how much of The Witcher 3 do I have left? Because I mentioned like, oh, I got done with Bloody Baron. How much is left? And they're like, you are not even like anywhere close. I'm like, son of a bitch, I've done like 30 hours of this thing.
Yeah.
Like, how am I not close?
And I think related to that, I've got another one, if you don't mind.
Let's
resolve to stop seeing the hours spent on a game as the sole arbiter of its value.
Oh yes, and that goes both ways. I don't think Witcher is subject to this, but there's a tendency in the game industry to say like best game is the same thing as most game.
Yeah.
And then it comes around on the other side where a game that's a really tight, 2 hours, people are like, that's not worth $15, and maybe it is. Maybe it is worth $15. Maybe it's just a really amazing 2 hours.
Honestly, the older I get, the more when it's like, oh, this is only like a 6-hour game. I'm like, yeah, I have
Sweet.
time for 6 hours. I can do that in a reasonable time.
I can finish that in like 4 weeks.
I can do that.
I bought The Order just because it was that short.
Exactly.
I still haven't played The Order, but I will eventually do it, and I'll just feel like this is just a relatively long. It's like binge watching a Netflix show. You put less time into playing this game than you do doing that.
And going off of oh no, go.
Well, speaking of short, that made me think of another one. How about we spend a lot less energy discussing and arguing over what it does and does not count as a game?
Yep.
How about
that? That's a huge discussion in my office, especially with Mario Maker. You would not believe the opinions.
Mario Maker, really? Oh my God, that is
of what is and is not a game. Oh no, apparently it's the 2015's best app of the year.
It's gamifying creation. That's still. Oh,
I could see if you didn't think Little Big Planet was a game, but like Mario Maker.
I think the thing that made me think of this was Her Story, which got Game of the Year nominations or wins from different sites, and the backlash against it, that I heard all year, and especially it flared up again after the Game of the Year stuff, was it's not even a game. It's not even a game. And I haven't played Her Story, so I don't really have any particular opinion about it one way or the other. But that just strikes me as the silliest thing to argue about, is whether or not it counts as a game.
Let me, if I may, let me put on my doctor hat.
Do you have a doctor hat?
I actually do. If you want to give me a second, I can get it. I can literally get the hat from the place where I got my PhD. But the thing about games is that if you look at how games are developed, there's this really great theory. I think I've talked about it on here before, but I can't remember, by a guy named Lev Manovich. It's called the narrative database, and it says that video games, CD-ROMs, websites, all that stuff, the new media materials that we use are all fundamentally databases that we interact with, okay? And the interaction, the interface that we use to go through the database will differ depending on the experience. So, for example, something like The Witcher is going to have a different interface than something like, Mario Maker, right? There can be different ways, but there's still databases full of choices, options, etc. that we interact with, okay? And Her Story, from what I've seen of it, I don't know a ton about it, but it's a game I'm kind of thinking about checking out for some projects that I've got percolating in the back of my mind. It seems to me like what it does is that it takes that principle and just makes that the experience. Like it
really distills it down to its core.
Right. It gives you a database to dig through, to hack through, to do whatever with. Right. It just doesn't give you there's no antagonism or challenge from outside agents within the game itself, like there would be in The Witcher or something like that. But it's still a database. It's just a different way of working within that database, much the same way that Gone Home was, right? And I consider all of these things games, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have rules. They have things that you do. They have a goal. They have limitations on what you can do to get to that goal, and things you have to figure out.
Because in Her Story, you tell the game when you are done.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, there's a dialogue option that's like, are you satisfied with have you seen enough information that you are satisfied enough to think you know the solution? And so you're telling the game when you finished it, which is a little different, and I think that confuses people.
And I think too, it's the same way that whenever we see changes in the form of something, right? Whenever we see changes in a media form or a narrative form, it's always got this reluctance or this hesitance on the part of the people who are kind of like the old guard to say, well, this can't be, this doesn't fit with what we've seen before. It doesn't fit with our established patterns. I mean, we saw, there was a time where people thought that talkies, people actually putting sound in movies was going to make it not film anymore. It was going to make it something completely different, right?
Or modern art.
Exactly.
As well.
Yeah, I mean, having a background in art and a degree in art, this is all an incredibly familiar discussion where you wouldn't believe how often college students in art programs talk about what is and isn't art.
No, I would.
Oh yeah.
It's the dumbest, most exhausting conversation. And I think one of our professors just very bluntly at one point stated, I think you all need to spend a lot less energy talking about what is and isn't art and more energy talking about what is good and bad art. And I
agree.
I just feel like we need to establish that principle towards video games.
Yeah. Like if French New Wave impressionist movies are movies, and if Dadaism is art, then any video game, her story is definitely art. Like
everything's a video game. I'm a video game. Whatever.
Yeah.
Interactive media, sure, go for it.
But I don't think that's.
Does it display on a video screen? Yes. Okay. Is it game-like? Yes. Okay. It's a video game.
I mean, like if you have some degree of control over it, I think you can make the argument that it is in fact a video game. Maybe there are some that are. I even hesitate to say this. Maybe there's some that are like more further along on the continuum of video game.
Spectrum. It's all along, everything's on a spectrum.
There you go. That's a good way
it's
to
like
look.
The Kinsey scale.
That's why they use it. Everything fits somewhere on it.
We're just breaking out all the professorial talk. So,
well, it's interesting. We talked about like what makes a movie and what doesn't. I mean, I saw The Hateful Eight yesterday, and
is that a movie?
Well, it is in that you sit in the theater and you watch it, but it's structured more like a play. Like it all pretty much takes place in one room.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know, but like the form and how they do it, it doesn't really follow like a narrative the way that we understand it, because like it cheats. The movie cheats and it bugs me. Like it really does.
Watching the previews, my assumption was like, oh, it's Inglourious Bastards, but with cowboys.
I wish it was.
That's really disappointing.
Quentin Tarantino lies in his trailers.
Because I wanted Inglourious Bastards with cowboys.
I look, I loved Inglourious Bastards. I love Django. This was like I don't hate the movie. I just don't think it's my least favorite Tarantino movie.
Wow.
All
okay.
Right.
All right. Well, don't say anything else.
Puts it above a lot of other movies, right?
Like, yeah.
Did you see it, Andrew?
I have not seen it yet. I'm a fan of Tarantino. So
I am too, but I still am. Like I don't regret seeing it. I just
okay.
But yeah.
So I want to wrap this up because we have newsy bits to get to. But I want to wrap this up with Mobab's other personal resolution, which I think is kind of a resolution that we all make every year. That I think every gamer makes every year. Mm-hmm. His personal resolution is to beat games or to get close enough for it to be considered beaten, unless it's just awful and he gives up on it. He started in early December and beat One Piece and Uncharted 1. This month he's already beaten Chapter 1 of King's Quest, and he's on the last level of Gauntlet. Next is going to be Grim Fandango. Nice. So he's moving right along with that pile. I think as gamers we all have the pile.
Yeah.
And especially in the game industry, working in this, where you can be halfway along or 1% along in The Witcher, like going along fine in a game, and then a review game shows up, and you're like, oh shit, I need to finish this, and then you go back to it, and there's constant interruptions. So I don't know if I'm going to do that, but again, that is my goal. I would like to finish my pile.
Honestly, my New Year's resolution is making peace with my pile.
Right.
I am I consume media. Like that is what I do. I consume movies, I consume TV, I consume music, all books and all that. I have a list. I have a huge list. I have like books and movies on my list from college that I look at and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch or read you until like fall at the earliest. And I understand that I'm always gonna have a list, and I accept that now. Like I'm not gonna try and rush and kill myself to try and complete my list.
I mean, I've only recently made peace with the idea that working in this industry, I get lots of opportunities for free games, and also having PS Plus and Xbox Live Gold, I get lots of opportunities for free games. So I have all of these like free games just shooting at me constantly, and I have to be like, I don't have time for all of these games. I'm not even gonna download that one because this isn't at the top of my list of like things I want to play. But like, there's some part of me who's like 12 years old who's like, but it's a free game. You gotta play it. You gotta try it. And it's taken a while to shake that part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I've tried to do is I've basically made the resolution that I am not going to buy anything new for a long time. Like, I might pick up Street Fighter and probably going to get the show when that comes out because baseball. But like those are ones I can like play little bits of here and there.
Right.
And I'm going to try not to get anything like big or involved until I have made at least some progress through the other big involved stuff that I haven't gotten to yet. So
that's why The Witcher is so intimidating for me, because I'm like, I need to finish The Witcher. People are telling me that it's another 100 hours, and I basically have like maybe an hour to play per day. So it's like, well, you'll finish it in 3 months.
Yep.
That if you do nothing but that.
And didn't you get the DLC too?
I did, yeah, and that's
so
another
did I.
like
You have
20
an
hours.
extra like 100 hours right there.
What is wrong with me? All right, let's move on to
It
newsy
came with
bits.
Gwent cards.
Yeah, it did, and those Gwent cards are pretty sweet. Before we get to newsy bits, let's cover our sponsor.
Yeah, this podcast that you're listening to, Chattycast by Shack News, is brought to you by Audible.com, and they are offering you, the listeners of said Shack News Chattycast, a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial to check out their service. Tons of great books on games, tech, hundreds of other topics to choose from. Every week we like to try to go through when we can and find one that's good, and we want to recommend it to you to check out. I don't remember if we recommended this one, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. This week you can check out What If? Serious Scientific Answers to Absurd Hypothetical Questions by Randall Munroe and read by Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton, yes. Randall Munroe is the author of XKCD, the webcomic with stick figure people, and one of the few probably good webcomics out there. He answers reader questions like, what would happen if you tried to hit a baseball pitched at 90% of the speed of light, and how long would humanity last in a robot apocalypse? I don't want to ruin the book for you, but 9 times out of 10, the answer to these questions is everybody dies. Check that book out. It's very fun. It's a fun read. Check it out, or check out over 150,000 other titles with your free audiobook download. Just go to audibletrial.com/chattycast. Again, that's audibletrial.com/chattycast.
It sounds pretty rad.
It is pretty rad. The cover is a T-Rex being lowered into the Sarlacc pit. So, like,
is
right
that
there.
Wait.
I believe so, yes. Like, how
Oh
long
my
it
God.
take. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. So, the big news of this week, of today and this week and possibly this year, is the Oculus Rift, the sort of, I guess, headliner VR device. There are actually a lot of competing VR devices. I feel like Oculus is the one that's gotten the most media attention. They announced an announcement this week that they announced that they were going to be opening pre-orders, and given that nobody knew the price, that was a big deal. Today, the pre-orders opened and revealed the price as $599, not $600. $599 flat, not .99. This is, I think, higher than, given the reaction that I've seen so far, this is probably higher than a lot of people were expecting. So, guys, this has been touted as the year of VR. Is this throwing a wrench in that?
Yes.
All right. So next newsy bit.
To a degree.
That was a slow pitch because I knew what the answer was, but
I was stunned.
I feel like this is making VR slower than I think people expected. I think people, if Oculus came in at a lower price, which, to be fair to Oculus and to Facebook and Palmer Luckey, they're basically saying, like, hey, we're selling this thing at cost. We're not really making a profit on it. We're not taking a loss on it either. So they didn't want to take a loss, whatever. But, like, I think if they had come in at a lower price somehow, we would see more widespread adoption this year.
Yes.
This price basically guarantees that it's going to be early adopters only for now, and Palmer Luckey, in comments on Twitter, has basically said he knows that and he's comfortable with that.
Right.
Good.
Well, and so here's the thing. Like, I understand that perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the idea that not everybody's going to be able to afford this thing, okay?
Yeah.
It is very much, like, if you look at the diffusion of innovation curve, as long as we're talking about the professor stuff, we're very much going to be at that
This
sort
is
of
why we
like,
have you on,
innovators.
to use phrases like the diffusion of innovation curve.
It's a real, if look it up. But,
No, I believe you.
Right. So the idea of the innovation, diffusion of innovation curve, and I'm probably getting some of this wrong because it's not my particular area of study, but the idea is that when we look at any new technology, how it's adopted, there's always going to be a very small percentage of the population that will get no matter what, like the bleeding edge innovator types. Then we see like a curve, like an upswing in adoption. And if you're not listening to this on the if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm making a little curve with my finger in the air
Bell
right
curve.
now. Yeah, it's a bell curve, exactly. And so, like, as the price goes down, you see adoption start to go up and increase, and then eventually we hit a saturation point where everybody has it, and very few people buy new versions of it.
Yeah.
So at $600, we're not going to jump that bell curve very fast, right? And I've seen a lot of people try to make the argument, this is like a phone, or this is like an HD television. It's not. Okay? This is a very specific device that does a very specific thing. Okay? A phone, you pay $600 for it. First off, odds are it's going to be subsidized by your phone company, right? Yeah. Nobody pays $600 for a phone. Some people do, I guess. I should clarify. But most people get the phone. Yeah, they get it on an installment plan, or they get it for really cheap because AT&T or Verizon or whatever subsidizes. I know they're changing all that stuff. That's another discussion entirely. An HD television, okay, yeah, you can use it for a lot of different things. You can watch movies, you can watch television, you can do anything with it, right? This, and I like the analogy that friend of the show, Phil Hornshaw, used. So I'm just going to go ahead and steal this. If you want to follow him, it's at Phil Hornshaw on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And what he said was basically this. It's not like an HDTV or smartphone. It's more like if you're being sold a $600 video game console and you have to upgrade your house's electrical wiring to use it. Which is pretty good. But
Phil.
The thing is, this is not a huge market.
I think that's the thing that gamers need to keep in mind most of all, is that we are people who are interested in games, and I hate to use the word hardcore, but it's an easy shorthand for what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But people who are interested in the hardcore gaming scene is like a niche, and then people interested in VR is like a niche of that niche. So, it's a fairly small insular community, and it's fine that that's going to be the group that adopts this stuff first. But they kind of have to keep in mind that this isn't the mainstream thing yet. It's not even It's not even trying to be the mainstream thing, arguably, because one, price, but two, the experiences they're offering are all games. And if you're not a gamer, if you're not part of that first niche, you're not going to be like, ooh, and I can play games in this super special, cool way, and fulfill that second niche, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing, too, and this is the thing that kind of bugged me about what Lucky said about it on Twitter. The tweet he made, and he did clarify and expand on this a little bit, but this is not a good starting point. Reminder of something I've talked about before. VR will become something everyone wants before it becomes something everyone can afford.
That was a little tone deaf.
It's very tone deaf. You guys remember back when the PlayStation 3 came out, and was it Kaz Hirai was like, oh, this is so cool, you're going to want to get a second job to afford it. That's a terrible sales pitch.
It had echoes of that. Not great.
This is so great that you can't afford it, and you're going to want to afford it. You're going to want to just break your back.
You will learn discipline.
Exactly. Yeah. And to his credit, he clarified what he meant and all that, but not a
Andrew,
great
as someone who has had some Oculus experience, we've all seen the videos of you screaming like a little girl.
Great video. I've actually shown that video of you to other people when trying to explain what VR is, by the way.
That should be the same.
I'm glad I'm a learning tool for that.
Yeah. I feel like we've been dominating the conversation, so I wanted to give you a chance to jump in and share some thoughts. Oculus price point problem? Not a problem?
Okay, I can as a 20-something-year-old, I'm not ashamed to admit, who still lives with his parents because I quite literally can't afford not to.
Like all 20-something-year-olds, yeah.
Yeah, the idea is hey, this thing that does this very specific thing that a lot of software makes you feel sick while you wear it is going to be $600. And that is just I can wait. I think
the major
understand.
The major obstacle for Oculus 2 is this is something that Phil sort of referenced obliquely, but it's by itself it doesn't do anything. It's a thing that does something really cool if you also have this other thing that's also pretty expensive.
Also really cool. It reminds me a lot. VR really reminds me of the Wii, kind of I see a lot of parallels with it. That the technology, it's a cool technology. It's a good technology. It's technology that can be used really well. Mm-hmm. Just developers have to use it properly. Yeah. Because I remember I think I did a Let's Play. I don't even know if we used it because I was really sick. It was a mech game. And I told Joe, I was turn this off. I literally feel like I'm going to puke. And I think I was talking to Asif, or I was talking to someone, and they were like, yeah, it's not the Oculus's problem, it's the software, it's the game developers, they just don't know how to properly
get the field of view right and things like that. I mean, there has been notable improvement for that. As somebody who's put on the headset at various times throughout its development, the first time I tried it, it was like with the Doom demo, and that thing just made me like I didn't get sick, but I could have. Like I took it off. But the most recent one I think I've done is Adrift, and so like there's a huge gulf between those two experiences.
Like, I'm sure Elite Dangerous is going to be great. Eve Valkyrie is going to be great. Edge of Nowhere, I am legitimately excited for that to come. But that's just 3 games right now. I'm a person who is more of, as someone who grew up with Nintendo, I'm more about software than hardware.
Right.
And I understand that the hardware is awesome. I understand that it's going to be great. But until the software can keep up with the hardware, it's just not for me yet. So as a poor ass 20-something-year-old, I do not see the reason for me to get one yet.
So we have to do other newsy bits in our game.
I do want to make one quick.
I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Brian, I'll give you time for one more thing, and then I've got one more short comment.
If you're a video game historian, which I sort of am, you will remember that at one point Sega came out, made this huge speech about how cool the Saturn was going to be, said it was going to come out at $400, $399, like it's going to come out right now. And historically, and this is where Sony won, they came out right after that and said $299 and left.
I love that.
I would be very, very surprised that opportunity to try that again this time.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of playing into what I was actually going to say is, for me, the most interesting thing about this Oculus pricing news, because the pricing news by itself is just okay, that's the price. But I kind of wonder how other VR developers respond. Asif has been talking about how the HTC Vive, which is Valve's sort of partnered, but they're sort of push into this. He thinks it's going to come in more expensive. I have no idea where Sony's going to come in, but given their gleeful undercutting of Microsoft in 2013, I'm wondering if they try to repeat that strategy. And I feel like the very smart thing for them to do, if they can at all afford it, the brilliant thing for them to do at this point is to say Morpheus is $300 or whatever it's called now, PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR is $300. It doesn't cost more than the console because that would be insane. But for the price of an Oculus, you get both our VR device and our hardware to run it on.
And then you drop the mic and leave.
Drop the mic and leave. Yeah, exactly. Like it would be a lot like the press conference moment in 2013, and I think that would be interesting to watch. But I don't know if they're going to do that. I think if they come in at like $500, which is around what people have been predicting for VR devices, people were surprised about the $600 because everyone was expecting $500. So it's not like anyone was expecting it to be cheap. But if Sony came in at $500, it's like, hey, our VR device is twice the price of our console.
Yeah, like F that noise.
That would be rough. Yeah,
no,
they can't. I don't see how they can reasonably do that. Oculus has the benefit of not being tied to a specific piece of hardware, so people can't make that kind of comparison. I don't see how PlayStation gets out from under that way, unless they just undercut it and sell it at a loss for a little while. So,
right.
Oculus. So I have another newsy bit on. I'll just mention it real quick. Activision Blizzard, kind of over the break, kind of like basically as soon as we got back, purchased Major League Gaming. They just Activision just owns a major esports distributor, I guess, or league. So yeah, this is right after EA made their own sort of big esports announcement. I'm expecting Ubisoft to make one any day now because everybody is. So everybody wants a piece of that pie. So let's go around the table and get some quick thoughts. Brian.
I think this makes perfect sense. They've got Heroes of the Storm, they've got StarCraft, and Major League Gaming, I assume, has infrastructure. So like that, that makes sense for them. Plus Call of Duty as well.
In that way, right? Like they just buy a thing that's already running fine on its own.
Right. Makes perfect sense. It fits with their MO. Like I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah, no, makes sense. Hearthstone, StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, Diablo, World of Warcraft, Destiny.
And I mean, to an extent, like you mentioned Hearthstone, which of course my alarm goes off, but like they've been running their own tournaments for things like that. for a while, like Blizzard has.
Yeah, and like
Like
Heroes of the Dorm
basically
as
all
well.
Blizzard games are esports now. And so I kind of wonder
I
if
heard
they fold MLG into that stuff, or if they just continue letting Blizzard do it autonomously, or what.
they might use MLG as like kind of like a springboard for that. But I also heard a rumor. I don't know where I heard it. It's probably from Kotaku that they were like, oh, they're probably gonna buy a channel now as well. So to put MLG onto like television,
like actual TV,
like actual TV, like that thing that your parents still watch for something. Which
I mean, like,
which
I guess there's enough content for it. I mean, it seems like you'd have to show reruns a lot.
there's content, but is there the audience? Like literally, like my generation, it's like what 16-18% of us still watch TV. The rest of us don't. Most of us don't own
Damn
TV.
millennials.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it costs too much. I need to buy my rice.
I
And
think
beans
technically
to
I am
eat.
a millennial too. Like I'm right on the upper edge of it.
You're 30. Yeah, you're 30 something. You're a millennial. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't deny it.
He's just really old for a millennial.
I'm an old millennial. Yeah, I'm one of the senior millennials. But yeah, I don't know how much future there is in a channel like that because of that reason.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's more like I feel like with that mentality, it's like, oh, we have to legitimize esports. It's like,
Yeah.
no, forget it. We have the internet.
like-
Like, don't stop thinking too hard about this.
You basically would need older people to be watching it because the younger people are like, well, am I going to like turn on the TV to see, oh, between 6 and 7 we're showing this game that you're interested in, or am I just going to go onto YouTube and check out the highlights that are already there?
Yeah, and check. Exactly.
It doesn't really make any sense from that perspective to go for it, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out. So, our final segment now, Beat the Doc.
Oh yes.
Segment. Yeah,
That's
Andrew,
fun.
you haven't tried to beat the Doc in a while.
I haven't tried to beat the doc in a while.
Today's game looks forward to the year ahead. As you guys know, the vast majority of game releases are sequels, and this year is no different. But we have a few originals on the horizon. So, playing off the word new for New Year, any games that are new, part of new franchises in some way, I'm going to read a short description of an upcoming game that is not part of a franchise, and you just have to figure out what the game is. Simple enough. So, Andrew.
All right.
In this third-person action-adventure game, you control time to manipulate the environment. It also has some Hollywood heft, partly because of now scuttled plans to produce an accompanying original show.
Oh no! I know this. I actually know this.
I know you do. It's one of the easiest ones. It's the first question.
I know it's just, I forget the name.
Yeah, see?
Um,
This is the trouble with new games. They don't have franchise recognition yet.
it's like Quantum Core or something.
Oh, you were so close. It's Quantum Break. Quantum Break.
I was gonna say Blank just to throw it
You
off.
could have done Quantum Leap. That would have been.
Blah,
I love Quantum Leap though.
Quantum and then just mumble into the mic.
Quantum Blink's cat.
Quantum.
Vacuum.
Did they really not? They're not going to do the TV show anymore?
I don't think
Are
so.
they not?
From
Oh, heartbreaking.
yeah, from what I've heard, they shut down the Microsoft Studios that was going to do it.
Oh.
So I don't see how they could.
That's
But
unfortunate.
they've still talked about doing some sort of something, but it sounds like they've probably scaled down their plans. We don't actually know what their plans are now, but it sounds like they scaled them down. Anyway, and it stars Iceman from the X-Men.
Oh, cool.
So.
Everybody's favorite part of the X-Men movies.
Yeah. So, Brian, this long-anticipated adventure survival game lets you planet hop to explore different systems as you and everyone else head towards the center of the galaxy.
That would be No Man's Sky.
That is correct.
That was
Ryan-
the easy one.
Ryan with a point. Yeah, well, I made the first two easy ones so that you'd both get an easy one. All right.
It wasn't easy to me.
And now they get harder. Good luck.
Crap.
All right. Andrew,
Yes.
this physics puzzle platformer stars
This
a
one,
little
I'm sorry. Can you repeat it? It like my thingy went.
a physics puzzle platformer that
Okay.
stars a little craftwork creature as he unspools from exploring the world.
Oh, Unravel.
Unravel, yes, that is where they point. We're tied up now.
One of many
Right.
yarn-based games out there now.
You can take, yeah, I didn't want to say yarn. There's so many yarn-based games. All right, Brian. This isometric action RPG from 3D Realms began as a Duke Nukem game, but litigation from Gearbox changed the main protagonist. Nothing?
It's not Battleborn, I know that, so I don't know.
It is not Battleborn, no.
Nope.
It's Bombshell. It's called Bombshell.
Yeah,
It's
but I got
coming
nothing.
out, I think later this month.
All right.
They named it Duke Nukem something, and there was a whole weird kerfuffle, I think, with the website going up promoting it.
Oh, okay.
All
I
right.
think I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So final tiebreaker. Since this is the tiebreaker, you both can just say buzz when you think you know the answer.
Shit. Okay.
This first-person adventure game, I don't think either of you are going to know the answer. This first-person adventure game follows the real-life historical Yellowstone fires of 1988.
Buzz.
Buzz.
Brian?
Firewatch.
Yes. I heard Brian's buzz first. Sorry,
Which looks
Andrew.
really great. Like I remember
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
I didn't actually know what that was. I was just looking for original games, and then I looked up some information about it. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, they showed it at the Sony E3 thing.
Yeah, they showed it at E3, and that was one of the games I was like, I'm going to remember this.
Yeah.
This is something Twin Peaks.
It might come up later.
This might help me one day.
I must have been doing something else at that point in the presentation of E3. E3's a blur. I don't remember anything. I remember something about burritos. I don't know. Anyway, let's wrap this train wreck up. So, Brian,
Yes.
First I'll give you a chance to plug because I know that you got a book in this week.
I actually do.
It's so exciting.
It is, and I don't think anybody watching or listening to this is going to want to get it, but here it is. It is called Communicating Across the Disciplines. It is a textbook.
Ooh.
So you wrote a textbook.
You were in the market.
He's a real ass professor now.
If you're in the market for an introductory communication textbook that talks about communication both from a practical and personal standpoint across many different professional disciplines, you can go to the publisher. It's not even on Amazon, apparently. But you can go to kendallhunt.com. There they are. See, Kendall, Kendall Hunt.com. And it's on there. You can get it either as a book or an ebook. Honestly, unless you're like, if you're really interested in this, go check it out. You could do worse. But it's
what a sterling recommendation.
That book took up so much of my life for an entire year. I don't even know how to feel about it anymore.
I just enjoy knowing, like, I've known you for years, and you've now written a textbook.
Yep.
I find that entertaining on a personal level.
Yeah.
So anyway, Andrew
talks to write other books too. So
yeah, you gotta get that professor moolah going.
Hopefully, those will be a little bit more applicable to the folks listening to this show.
So Andrew, do you want to plug any upcoming video content that you're working on now?
Upcoming video content is going to be, stay tuned for more Hearthstone chat, because this is also me being like, Steve, let's talk about Hearthstone. Also, but some pass plugging.
As we saw several times during this show, like it's not hard to get me to.
Oh yeah. A pass plug would be our Game of the Year list. Joe and I did 11 of our top games of 2015. But there's no number 7. It's kind of confusing.
This is just how I was told to count. I just want to clarify that. Everybody's like, Steve, you idiot, you forgot number 7.
It's one of my favorite things I made for Shack News, because we were gonna write a script for like the ins and outs, and we're like, let's just wing it. And I think our back and forth is very entertaining.
Yeah, I watched them.
I'm glad you laughed. I'm glad I'm not the only one that laughed at my stupidity.
Actually, it was more like, I would say that you were not playing the Joker role. You were the straight man to Joe being the slacker.
It's normally, yeah, Joe's normally my straight man, but it just worked this way when we riff. Apparently, I'm a good straight man.
And that was an awesome sweater you had on.
So
go watch that specifically for that sweater.
Sweater game's always on point.
Yeah.
Sweaters are so hot right now.
They are. They actually are.
They're quite.
I'm wearing a hooded sweatshirt, and it's actually kind of warm up here, so that might have been a mistake.
And with that, I will plug one more thing. We have a rather long cover story going up tomorrow. It's our latest Shack News Select. It's a little shorter than some of the other ones, but it's still lengthier than an average feature. It should be going up tomorrow morning, so by the time you're hearing this in podcast form, it's already on the site. And I can't really say. I don't think I can say what it's about yet, but it's about an upcoming game. And I will just leave it at that. And I'm pretty excited about some of the little bits we have in there. So, and that's what I'm going to be working on like late into the day. So I should go do that. So that's the show. For Andrew, I am Steve Watts.
I am Brian Carr.
And we will see you on Chatty.